India and the world await a historic landing on the southern pole of the moon as the countdown for the same by the Chandrayaan 3 mission has begun. The spacecraft has completed all orbit and deboosting maneuvers. It's now aiming to find the perfect spot for a soft landing on the moon's challenging terrain. This is a massive push for the Indian space industry, and therefore, as well, we will talk about all other things and should definitely talk about the team behind Chandrayaan 3. So let's quickly go across and talk a bit more about the team. Let's share with you the details of the team. Let's tell you about them so you understand very, very clearly. So here you have the team and the team members. So S. Somnath, of course, he is the chairman, ISRO. He joined ISRO in 1985. His notable contributions, of course, are that the GSLV Mk3, the electric propulsion systems, and Chandrayaan 2, of course. P. Veera Muthuvel, also, of course, part of this core team. Project Director, Chandrayaan 3. He joined ISRO in 1989. His notable contributions also are extensive work on Chandrayaan 2. S. Mona Kumar also is part of this very, very crucial team. Mission Director, LVM3. M4 Chandrayaan 3 joined ISRO in 1995. His notable contributions include LVM3, M3, OneWeb India 2 as well. S. Uni Krishnan Nair, also part of the core team, Director Vikram Sarabhai Space Center. He joined ISRO in 1985. His notable contributions include the space capsule, recovery experiment, and also the team leader for the CARE mission. Meanwhile, M. Sankaran, Director UR Rao Satellite Center. He, if we could go back to our previous guest. Okay, well, that was, of course, the previous guest who also has a big contribution to play. But let's also tell you about A. Rajarajan, Director Satish Dhawan Space Center. He joined ISRO in 1987, and his contributions include the small satellite launch vehicle SSLV-V. Ritu Karidhal Srivastav, also a core member of this mission. She joined ISRO in 1997, and her contributions include the Mars Orbiter mission and Chandrayaan 2 as well. Okay, let's now quickly go across and get in our guests on the broadcast. We have joining us at this point Surinder Pal, former ISRO scientist. Surinder Pal, these are all the individuals who have played a crucial core role in Chandrayaan 3, isn't it?
Yeah, they are the persons, they are leading the team, but there is a big team behind each activity. So, I mean, it's not possible to put in the name of everybody. And I know quite a few of them. Some of them I must have been on their recruitment board or their promotion board. And but persons, I know all of them. They are very hardworking persons. They are dedicated persons, and I know particularly Mr. Somnath, who is the chairman, and Mr. Shankaran, who is the director of Vikram Sarabhai, URL Space Center, Satellite Center, and then Muthuvel. I also know him. I also know Chan, Datta, and Uni Krishnan. I know about Rajarajan. He was working on perhaps, at that time on reinforced plastic division. And he was a project director for many of the things. So their contributions have been significant in all along. And because of their contributions and the contributions of the team which they have got, they are leading. Today we are at that level that we are quite confident of landing Chandrayaan 3 Vikram on moon without much of a hindrance or hesitation. So I must compliment each one of them. Most of them I know personally. I mean, particularly Shankaran and Datta, Ritu, and of course Mr. Somnath. And so others, since I had been going to VSSC, so I have met them a couple of times. So it's a very competent team. I must tell you that we have got a very competent team in ISRO, dedicated. They don't bother for any recognitions. The main purpose of ISRO is to work and to see how better things can be done, how to think out of box, and how newer things can be done, and how things can be improved based on previous experience and experience of the predecessors. Thank you.
Yes, and there are many people behind the scenes as well. How long has the work for this project been underway for, sir?
Well, I mean, each one of them must have worked day in, day out. So it's difficult to quantify how much they have
No,
worked,
how many years do you believe
because each
Chandrayaan
work.
3 has been, this mission Chandrayaan 3 has been in the offing? How many years
Yeah,
has planning for it been on for?
you see, quite a bit, Chandrayaan 2, I must say, but they worked longer. Chandrayaan 3 is a extension, improvement, a lot of improvements are there on Chandrayaan 2. So, and they have taken definitely 4 years. There is no doubt about it. In all 4 years, they must have done 24 hours. Professor U.R. Rao used to say that the space technology has to be developed in the country by working 42 hours a day. I mean, it's not possible, but there is a phrase. He used to always say the 42 hours a day, and I know most of them that they have worked that way, and that's why we are today at this moment and this juncture. And I'm quite proud of my colleagues, although they had been quite junior to me. I left so long back, but I'm quite proud that we recruited such persons and such brilliant persons who are, taking ahead the space technology, and now we are on par with outsiders. We are not less than anybody else. Thank you.
Yes, certainly. And it's important to talk, of course, about, the chairman also under whom this is happening. It will certainly be a big mark on history, isn't it, when hopefully this is achieved in under 48 hours time, Surinder Pal?
Yeah, see, Mr. Somnath, he is a great aerospace engineer, and he is also project manager. What personally I would like to appreciate that he is a project manager. He managed GSLV Mark III. He was involved with PSLV. He knows integration of the rockets or launcher vehicles. He also knows propulsions very well. He was director of Liquid Propulsion Center. He was also director of Vikram Sarabhai Space Center, where he was responsible for Mark 3, GSLV Mark 3. He was involved in a PSLV. So he is an excellent aerospace engineer. If you talk about his technological competence, yes, he is a great rocket engineer. And if you talk about his management, definitely he has been director of two major centers of ISRO. Now today he is chairman. He mixes with everybody, very informal, and does not believe any formality. One thing which I must say in ISRO, we don't have bossism, and I'm happy that this generation has carried forward, and it will be carried in the future also.
Surinder Pal, stay with us. Let me also bring in Rakesh Kumar Mishra, former ISRO scientist, now into the broadcast. Mr. Mishra, what is the mission hoping to find on the lunar South Pole?
First of all, I would like to say it's an extraordinary technological achievement, and I wish to congratulate ISRO team and the government for supporting such a risky program. It's a program which is exploratory in nature. So this is the surface of the moon, which is opposite side, so the less seen, and something sitting on that surface can collect samples, do the analysis using the equipments that are there in the robots fitted there, and also take pictures and analyze the fine details of the surface, because moon is very important. That's the nearest body where you can station and further boost your space exploration programs. So I would also give it more value as a moral booster, because it's for entire nation, and especially for the scientific organization, of course ISRO, that we can aim big things and do second to none in anybody in the world. I mean, there are very few countries which are able to do it, and if ISRO achieves this will be a great milestone in our scientific endeavors to understand the universe.
Okay. What is the life expectancy of the lander and the rover once they soft land on moon, Rakesh ji?
I think these are for several, I mean, they will be active for several years. And so that depends on many other things, but they are designed in such a way they can stay there for a long time. It's not for a few days because it's a lot of effort, and they can keep doing experiments and analysis, which will be maneuver from the ground stations.
I'd like to ask you though about Chandrayaan 3 being different from 2. How different is it?
See, this is, I mean, the aim of the both is the same. And what I understand is that the landing for the Chandrayaan is a soft landing, which was different from the previous one. And we have learned from our shortcomings from the first one. So I'm very sure that this is a superior design and strategy to land.
And soft landing on south pole of moon, of course, has never been done before. What are the challenges in your opinion?
So as I said, these are exploratory things. You do a lot of calculations, whenever you do exploration means you are doing something for the first time. Otherwise, it's a repetition. So when you are other side of the moon, the signaling, you are not having a direct access to the site. It has to go through some other satellite and do the command and control for the system. So it's more challenging than if the signal were going straight to the target where you are aiming at. And that's why not many people have been able to do that. And you've seen recently, even the Russian efforts did not succeed.
Now, will we be able to watch the soft landing live on our television screens? Is that a possibility?
I think so. This will be possible to see. That will depend upon how much ISRO is letting people see. But there will be ways of precisely seeing how it is happening. It's not like a cricket show-off thing, but it will be a regenerated image. So a lot of data is processed and image is done. It's not like simple imaging like we do for TV camera and so on. So, but yeah, we will be able to see a reconstructed image of the same.
Okay, and will the lander unfurl the India flag and put the ISRO stamp on the South Pole?
I don't know. This is, I think, the ISRO's plan. I'm sure they will do that.
Okay.
Because that is something, and once a stamp is put, it will stay there because there is no wind, there is no other kind of disturbance on the surface. So it will stay there. So I anticipate that. Okay,
Rakesh Kumar Mishra, thank you very much for joining us with your perspective on that story. Let me also bring in now Annapurni Subramaniam, Director, Indian Institute of Astrophysics, who is joining us live. What sets Chandrayaan 3 apart from previous moon missions, according to you?
This is the third attempt or the second attempt to land on the moon. This mission is different from the other missions in many ways, for that matter. The Chandrayaan missions per se have its own special way of getting to the moon, because we use lower capacity rockets and we use innovative methods to steer the spacecraft to reach the lunar orbit and to lower it. The other thing is, this mission is attempting to land in the southern polar region of the moon. It's not exactly the South Pole, but closer to the South Pole. The reason being, the southern region, the polar region, is known to have the water in the form of ice. And so these regions have attracted attention recently. And if this mission succeeds, India will be the first one to soft land in the southern polar region of the moon.
Now, ISRO has said Chandrayaan 3 will land on the moon even if all systems fail. How have they made this possible, ma'am?
So I have not directly worked with the mission, but what I understand from the discussions which I am hearing, as well also from the material which are available for reading, What I understand is that the methods by which you make the spacecraft land on the moon requires information. So the adequate information for that is already preloaded, I believe, and also it is able to perform certain maneuvers which are preset, and depending upon the measurements it gets, it will be able to decide what to do. But in case if the set of the sensors that is there on the lander, if all of them fail, then it'll have a set of parameters with which it can go, and it should be able to land. And now, how does it work? You have a set of parameters and a value for a parameter and a deviation from which you can allow. Now, in this kind of in this spacecraft, the deviation allowed is much more than it was envisaged in Chandrayaan 2. So you're scanning a parameter space which is much larger, and the width of that it is quite large in this. So it is able to accommodate deviations from the mean value of the parameter. So all the systems are able to perform in a wider conditions, and therefore this mission is quite unlikely to fail.
Yes, a lot of people have also been concerned though with the failure of Russia's lunar mission, and the reason given is that it reached unpredictable orbit. What do you believe went wrong?
So we don't quite know the details of this mission, and we know that the route the spacecraft has taken is different from that of Chandrayaan 3. Having said that, the spacecraft has to do certain maneuvers to adjust the orbit around the moon and to create a path for a safe landing on the southern polar region. In order to do that, the onboard systems have to function in a certain way. It appears that some malfunction have not allowed the ground engineers to perform these maneuvers properly so that it can take the decided orbit or the path towards soft landing. Because of this malfunction, probably the spacecraft acquired something which is not it is supposed to acquire, and then as per the communication, we see that they suspect the spacecraft to be crash landed on the moon.
Now, what is the Chandrayaan 3 mission hoping to find on the lunar south pole?
Though water ice has been the driving force behind several missions, this mission is not going to look at the water ice as per se. But there are other important information one needs to know if one needs to go forward with further explorations and further experimentation. For instance, if one needs to understand how the heat is conducted from the sunlit area to the permanently shadowed area, you know that it doesn't have much of an air out there, and the surface of the regolith doesn't have much of a moisture. So how is the heat being conducted? So what temperature range one can expect? And does it change with respect to the depth? So this is one important question one needs to know when future experiments need to be performed on the regolith. Second is the moon quakes. We know that there are moon quakes, but they're not very severe, but recent studies have shown that some could be severe. So the other instrument is supposed to measure that. We should remember that earthquakes we measure, and we also use earthquakes to study the interior of the Earth. So similarly, in the future, if one can have a proper measurements, it may be possible to study the internal structure of the moon as well. So scientifically, it could be quite useful in the future. The third thing that would be going to measure is the amount of ions present in the so-called very thin atmosphere, which we call as the exosphere. And the rover will have experiments to study the elemental components by shooting laser and also X-rays. So these are very important baby steps to do and understand for future missions. So these are all stepping stones, and it would be very interesting to see how we plan our future missions to the moon, hoping that this succeeds. So if this mission is succeeding, I think this is just the starting point of the whole new set of missions India should plan, because that's what it's going to give.
Now, what is the life expectancy of the lander and rover once they soft land on the moon?
So it is expected to stay there for 14 Earth days, which is equivalent to 1 lunar day. So primarily, if you want to operate any instrument and get information back from there to Earth, you need power. And this power is generated using solar arrays. So the landing is scheduled based on the availability of sunlight out there. And the sunlight is very important to charge use the solar panels to charge it and use that power to drive the experiment. And the results need to be communicated back to Earth. So communication from the rover to the lander to the orbiting station, and then from there to Earth. So this entire loop needs to be completed. Then only you can actually the pictures taken, the data collected, all have to be transferred down. So this requires power, and we expect if everything goes well, they will stay alive with the power for 14 Earth days.
Yes. How is Chandrayaan 3 different though from Chandrayaan 2?
Chandrayaan 2 and 3, in terms of lander and rover, they are very similar. So they are repeating the experiment there. But in terms of the orbiter, which is functioning extremely well in the case of Chandrayaan 2, it is not there in Chandrayaan 3. So Chandrayaan 2's orbiter is still functioning, and you would have just seen now that the propulsion module and the lander module, which are part of Chandrayaan 3, and I think the lander module has already started communication with the Chandrayaan 2 orbiter also. So you have two communications. So Chandrayaan 2 orbiter is not there. I mean, the main one is not there, but then there's a small propulsion module which is there as part of Chandrayaan 3, which will be there for a few months, and the rest of it is the same.
Right. What can the people of India expect immediately after the landing happens? My final question to you.
So, as I said, there would be, I really do not know, but then we expect when the lander goes in with a velocity of, let's say, 1 to 2 meters per second, the lander will kind of fall onto the ground with that speed and be all right. And then it has to start functioning by, I mean, they already have taking pictures, right? The pictures are already coming from the lander hazard detection and avoidance camera. You could have seen the pictures of the far side from far side of the moon released by ISRO recently. So some of this data will start coming in because, as I said, the lander will communicate with either the propulsion module or with the Chandrayaan 2.
My thanks to you, Annapurni Subramaniam, for joining us with your perspective on that big story. My thanks to our other guests as well.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.